Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining me to my fifth episode of COVID recovery stories from all over the world, where I speak with patients who have recovered from the coronavirus, but also movers and shakers from all over the world who are fighting the good fight against this pandemic. Now, tonight we are going to Italy. After Japan, Italy has the largest and the biggest number of elderly worldwide, and was the first country in Europe to be hit the hardest. Now, today, for the first time after 2 months, Italy is showing a drop in COVID-19 cases, and that's a good story, and that shows us there can be hope in the fight against this pandemic. Now, tonight I am so pleased to be speaking with one of the most inspiring female leaders in Italy, Lia Quartapelle, a member of the Italian Parliament, who will be joining me from Rome. Let's see if Lia is here with us. I will be waiting for Lia. She's not with us yet, but I know that she will be logging in very soon. Now, if you have any questions for Lia, you can send me a message down there. As you know, Italy has been seeing the highest numbers of death and loss and fatality in Europe. And then we saw what went on in Spain, but unfortunately it was the first country. And Lia, as a female leader, can not only tell us about what the country is doing from a leadership perspective, but also she's part of the community. She's part of the heart and soul of the Italian society, and can really take us on the ground and allow us to see what's going on within the Italian society. There we go. Lia is with us. Lia, thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, Tara.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Very happy to be with you.
So much, Lia. I'm really, really grateful. You are joining me from Rome.
Yes.
And it's so good to see you smile despite the very, very difficult 2 months that Italy has been facing. So first of all, how are you doing? How's your family?
Well, me personally and my family are well. Of course, the country is in a complicated situation. I think we are finally seeing some very comforting data, daily data. I don't know at what time you get the data in the US, but in Italy we get data of mortality around 6 o'clock in the evening. And it's been a few weeks that we have improving data every night. And I think the mood is starting to change. I mean, people are starting to wonder every day how we will go back to life and how we will cope with the new normal. So,
Right.
I mean, I feel that the mood is really changing.
That's incredible. That's so incredible. And as you know, the series is about hopeful stories, stories of recovery, and really shining the light on the people, everyday people, and also leaders who are making a difference. And you are one of those leaders in Italy. I want to get to that, but Leah, before we talk about the leadership and the strategy at place, I want to talk about the number of elderly in Italy. As I mentioned, after Japan, Italy has the highest number of elderly in the world. So it's only natural that it would impact, the senior citizens of your country, and it has. Now, that also indicates that people in Italy are very close. So children are very close to the grandparents, families are very tight, and that really reflects the strong bond of the Italian community. Is that true?
Well, I think that out of the most hit countries, I think Italy and Spain have a very similar, let's say, family structure, which means that lots of people live with their grandparents, either in the same house or very close or in the same building, even if it's not in the same apartment, maybe in the same building. And lots of people leave their children to grandparents when they go to work. And this is the same in Italy, the same in Spain. I heard that in Germany, 40% of households are made out of single households, like single persons. In Italy, it's not like that. I mean, we are closer in family terms, but this means actually that the virus spread faster and that more elderly people were killed. I am from Milan, which is the second biggest city in the country. And it is a city like, if there are some Europeans listening, like London or like New York, where young people go to find their yes, and they don't bring with them, of course, their parents. And elderly people don't live in such a big city. And I mean, Milan, to an extent, was spared compared to the rest of Lombardy for this structure, we believe.
For that reason, for that.
Yes.
Now, that's quite interesting because I'm in Sweden right now, and when you compare countries, you realize the societies that are warmer and closer and more tight-knit family-wise. With that said, how do you see that love of family, love of community playing into a positive role in helping this fight? Unfortunately, as we said, it helped spread the virus early on, but how is that tight-knit community of the Italian society and the family bond helping people right now?
Well, it certainly helped people understanding the downside effect of the virus. I mean, if you're young, I don't know what it is like in Sweden or in other countries, but in the beginning, especially in Italy, it was very tough to explain to young people, especially teenagers, that they needed to behave in a different way. But it is easier if you have examples. So if you tell, okay, if you behave badly, your grandparent, so and so, can be hit, then that gets easier. Yes. And so, yeah. And so even if in the first few days, it was tough to explain to teenagers and people in their 20s that they needed to behave like everyone else, then the fact that they have their grandparents close to their heart helped, I think, enforcing measures even in these ages that are not hit directly by the virus.
I understand. I think a lot of us worldwide, in Europe and in the United States, saw those videos coming from the balconies of the Italian streets, people playing music and dancing, and really, again, it was a reflection of the warmth and love that the Italian people have in their heart, despite the crisis that they're going through. Talk to me about different projects that you saw or you're involved with right now that are enabling people to come together on a grassroots level, do some charity work, help together in different neighborhoods. Tell us about some of those good stories and projects that you want people to support, that you want to tell us about.
Well, there are many stories like this. I am attached to some of them. There is one in particular that we are doing right now. It is, let's say, a triangulation of solidarity. So there is an association in a small city in Italy that is sewing face masks for their citizens. So I asked them whether they could sew more of those face masks to bring to jail. In many countries, there is the problem of how to manage the virus in jail. And it's very important to have protection for workers and for those that are in jail. So they realized these masks. And in return, we decided to support the association who is buying food for 20 families that don't have enough income to do their shopping. And so it is a triangulation. They're helping the jail and we are helping them get the food.
Help the families. That's
yes,
incredible.
help the families.
Lia, what's the name of this association and where are they based?
It's Protezione Civile. In every city in Italy, you have like a small nucleus of this Protezione Civile, which is like a nationwide association that rescue people in times of need. Mm-hmm. And the city is Gressano, near Milan. It's a small city near Milan. I think maybe Luca, but he's following. Yes, he's following with his wife's account. Luca is the person that helped us, and he's following us actually tonight.
Incredible. Lia, do you want to briefly, because I know you have a lot of Italian followers, do you want to briefly say this in Italian? So if
yes.
you want to support, please do. I may not understand, but many people will, and I want to really focus on ways we can help.
Ok, Tara chiedeva di iniziative insomma, di solidarietà che stiamo facendo. Ce n'è una in particolare su cui io mi sono impegnata insieme a una persona che sta seguendo che si chiama Luca. Sostanzialmente Luca è della protezione civile di un piccolo paese fuori Milano. Loro hanno realizzato delle mascherine per i carceri di Opera, Bollate e San Vittore e in cambio a me è venuta l'idea di sostenere la protezione civile del comune per fare la spesa per 20 famiglie, 60 persone, la spesa di non deperibili. Ok, I explained it in Italian.
Great, and we'll share the link.
Condividiamo il link dell'iniziativa se volete sostenerlo, insomma ci manca un pochino per arrivare all'obiettivo. We are almost to the objective that we set. But if people want to contribute, they're welcome.
Absolutely. Indeed. And I will share as well, like I said. I want to follow up on that, Lia. I think for the non-Italian viewers, this is interesting. Italy is, of course, known for its food, fashion, art, and really all things beautiful, in addition to the warmth of its people. I personally saw a lot of fashion designers, artists, different celebrities, artists, musicians, really showing solidarity and using this passion for love and life in Italy and bringing attention to this pandemic. Can you talk to me about this a little bit more? Can you tell me about artists or fashion houses or creatives, artisans, architects, just ways that Italians are using this creative genius?
Well, there was, I mean, there has been a resurgence of patriotism or national spirit, which is something that Italy hasn't had for a long time. And online, there was this small meme postcard going around saying that Italy is the country where you have face masks done by Armani, ventilators done by Ferrari, sanitizing gel done by Bvlgari. So actually, but I mean, it's not a joke. It is what really happened. Armani really put himself to sew face masks. Bvlgari, which is like a perfume and jewelry, started doing sanitation. Ferrari started producing valves for ventilators. So many trademarks that the world knows as Italy best actually started producing things that are useful for the crisis. I mean, I believe this happened in other countries, but in Italy it has a twist because everybody knows.
Exactly, and it was the first. It was the first, yes. and everybody came together in a very equal way. I think
Yes, indeed.
everyone in Italy became, a big family. Talk to me about the hospital that was built. That is another example of this.
Yes, that's another example. There are two examples actually. Chiara Ferragni and Fedez. I don't know if you know Chiara Ferragni. She's a big influencer. They started raising money and they raised 4 million euros online from 90 countries, and they built like a small intensive care unit in a hospital in Milan. On the other hand, in Bergamo, the voluntary association of the city and what we call Alpini, which is an army branch with a characteristic hat with a feather.
I see.
They built an entire hospital in 8 days.
Wow.
Just non-stop. And Bergamo was one of the hardest hit city in Italy. So, I mean, this is another example of how voluntary work, artisans of the city, and Alpini started building very fast hospital. I mean, everybody remembers the hospital that in Wuhan was built in 2 days. This story is a different one. It took 8 days and was much smaller. But still, it's a sign of how Italy volunteered for building a hospital.
Wow, that's incredible. And I think you see leadership in people.
Yes, indeed.
During these times. And that takes me to my next point, Lia. You are a member of the parliament. You're involved in European affairs, foreign affairs, human rights. I understand that you sit on that committee as well as global affairs. And you're a passionate advocate on many things ranging from, climate, LGBTQ rights, human rights, all of that are all near and dear to my heart. We are seeing a surge of strong female leaders worldwide shining as countries are fighting this pandemic. And you are an example of that female leadership. Tell me about your fellow colleagues who are also women and female leaders, either in the parliament or on, state and sort of county level. What are you ladies doing? How are you leading the way right now?
Well, I actually would like to spend a word not for famous leaders, but especially for Italian women in families. I don't know what it is like in other countries, but everywhere the virus is hitting women less than men. So I don't know if it's the same here, like in Sweden where you are or where other people are, but outside for the shopping and so on, you only meet women. And especially to women that work, we are requesting a lot of effort because they often care for their children and work at the same time and care for the house. And I mean, I think there are lots of brave and resilient Italian women that are really paying a huge price. And I'm saying this because we are thinking on how to restart. And I really think we should not forget that the women in a time of a crisis are burdened twice or 3 times because they have to take care of the family, they have to take care of the children, they have to keep working, they have to manage the house logistically in a complicated situation. So I'd like to spend a word for them.
No, thank you. You're right. I think not only on a political level, we're seeing female leadership, but also at home, women and mothers and wives are really holding the fort. And to your example, when I contracted the virus myself, my sickness was milder than my partner, and I was, doing the chores. I'm not saying I was at all a leader, but I understand what you're saying, and I think right now is more than ever important to amplify that, women are a leader not just at home but also on a state level. But what about the policy-wise? Are you possibly implementing, policies or suggesting these ideas on how to further empower working women or working moms in these situations?
Well, there is a lot of discussion these days led by many grassroots women on how to restart also thinking about children. I mean, everywhere we think, okay, we have to protect the elderly. We have to avoid stopping economic activity as much as we can. And I mean, children is something in the background, something that is not thought as useful or as relevant for the crisis. But children are, on the one hand, suffering a lot because they cannot, it's especially for small children, we cannot really explain what is happening to them. And on top of that, they shouldn't be forgotten when we think about how to restart, because there is children, but there is also their mother. So there is a lot of discussion right now on how to do like a phase number 2 that thinks about women and their children and doesn't overburden, especially the women that have to go back to work, but also have to care for the children.
No, that absolutely makes sense. And that actually takes me back to my next question, which right now might be a bit challenging and disheartening, because I want to talk about the Italian economy, and so much of it depends on tourism and, you know, both in the south, the north, I mean, everywhere really. Italy is such a marvelous country. And I think that's been affected tragically. But how do you see hope moving forward? How do you see that you know, these businesses and tourism industry can revive itself despite the crisis right now?
Well, I also saw that there is a chef, Andrea Ruggero, that is asking more or less the same question. I think, I mean, one of the things that lots of people miss and are thinking is the freedom to move around the country. So think about how beautiful Venice or Rome or Naples or Florence can be these days, completely empty. And if I think about deprivation, well, of course, I miss my family, which I haven't seen for 2 months now. But another big deprivation that I feel is that I cannot go around freely in Italy. And many people are voicing this. So there is eagerness to go back and to discover places in Italy we don't know. Of course, tourism, we don't know how it will restart and when. But I think lots of Italian people are thinking, okay, this summer, if we can go on holidays, we will remain in Italy because I want to go there that I haven't seen. I want to go back to a place that I really love. And I mean, this is, again, a way in which citizens take care of their countries and care for their country. And I think this is a sign of hope. Of course, if there are people working in tourism, I can understand that they are worried. And we will do as much as we can not to let anyone alone. But still, I feel a lot of people thinking about visiting Italy again, even if they're Italian. But you're all welcome if you want to come when it will be possible to come back.
I see. I think that's an excellent point. Right now, I think people, not just Italians, but worldwide, can possibly take it on themselves to go to countries that have been hit the hardest in order to support those countries. And I mean, I, for one, definitely want to come to Italy and support, you know, your beautiful nation. Lia, my last question is a general question, because I think the COVID crisis has been one of those rare and very humbling moments that have brought the global community together. And you, as a citizen of a country that has been hit the hardest, but also a leader within, you know, your country, what do you say to other nations, other leaders, you know, other people who may have not been seeing eye to eye? What's your message of, you know, unity as countries brave through this crisis?
There are two messages. The countries that are doing better are the countries that were better prepared. Italy was not prepared because we were the first, mainly. So prepare. I think it is a big pity that a huge country like the United States or a country like the UK, for, let's say, the arrogance of their leaders, they didn't believe in the virus, arrived late and they were unprepared, and this really costed a lot of lives. And I think it's a sign of great wisdom of Angela Merkel, for example, that she prepared thoroughly. And Germany is really not suffering of the level of debts that other countries are at presently. So let's be prepared. Second thing is more philosophical, but I hear lots of people saying, okay, we stopped because lots of things that were in the old world were not good. We have to rebuild a different world. And they say this because, for example, pollution is a lot down. They say this because we discovered a different value to our time and to our relationships, which we miss, a lot of them, we miss them. So I think we have to take this time to rethink and to imagine what we want to become, because it is an occasion, and we have to rebuild throughout the world, and we have to rebuild the country. We have to do it with imagination, with heart, and with ideas.
That's so beautiful, and that, I guess, takes me back to my final question. What changed in you, Lia? Did you find anything specific that you're grateful for or have gratitude for, or after this pandemic you will do differently as a strong female voice and female leader?
Well, on a personal note, when you do politics, you tend to spend very little time with your family. And I am enjoying the time that I'm spending with my family here in Rome. And I think I'm rethinking about the use of my time. On another level, I am valuing a lot things that seemed very normal, like traveling, like freedom, like relationship. I miss my friends. I miss parts of my family. And I think this will remain with me. Overall, I'm very proud in the end of the spirit that was shown by the citizens of my country, the solidarity, the fact that we protected one another by staying at home. I remember in the beginning of the crisis, an interview on BBC, they asked me, but we all know that Italians don't respect rules. And I said, yes, but Italians are known abroad because they can create things that are unimaginable for other countries. So we will surprise you. And I'm very proud that the citizens of my country have surprised the world with their solidarity and the respect of the rules.
Wonderful. I think the citizens and the people have done incredible. We saw in New Zealand, leaders taking pay cuts. Do you think that we will see that in Italy, that leaders and politicians, and government officials taking a pay cut in order to support businesses that are lacking funds and financial needs right now, and other people who are going to suffer?
I think we have to change a lot of things because lots of things are unequal and are unfair in the country. And politics will have to be very careful, very bold, and fightful for the things that we think are right. So we will have to change a lot in the way we work in the future.
Well, I'm sure many people are grateful to have you be part of that political system, to be their voice and fight for their rights. And I really hope that, just like the Italian people who came out as really champions of uniting against this virus, politicians come together as well for the people. Thank you so much for joining me
tonight.
Thank
you, Tara. I really liked this initiative of yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I absolutely cannot wait to visit Italy very soon.
We wait for you here.
Thank you.
Ciao.
For everything, Lia. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Grazie.